Look past our monuments, past the condos, past the luxurious hotels. Let me truly introduce you to our city. For it is filled with so many chapters of haunted history. And even then, for the debunkers, it is culture, it is who we are, it is something that has been shared from generation to generation, and it will continue going forward. But today we are talking about some of the most iconic, legendary, urban legends that San Antonio has to offer. I want to ask you a question. What would you do if you knew exactly how haunted this city was? Would you still live here? Don't answer that. And if you live here, you may not want to continue watching what I'm about to show you. They say it was in the late 40s to early 50s where a man was walking, and he looked so alarming. The way he walked, the way he paced, the things he said, that he would harm others, harm himself, and you could tell that he meant it. Now at the time there was onlookers, but they didn't want to get involved. This was the 40s and 50s. But he was pacing back and forth, wanting harm. The shifts in his eyes, you knew he was thinking ill thoughts. Then the bells bellowed from the nearby churches, for it was midnight. And from the ground rose these giant reapers, these beings that were huge and massive, almost 10 feet tall, robed and ancient looking. They began to sway and then began to encircle the man, trapping him. There was 3 of them. One had a face that was skeletal. The other face showed agony, and the other, despair. And they all began to go faster and faster, not letting the man move anywhere. And in a flash, they all took hold of him and took him down into the ground. People say that they looked as ancient as time, and that their faces were so grim and grotesque and terrifying. I know for a fact that these things probably aren't originally from San Antonio. I think they have to do with the cemetery that used to be in that area. What helps validate my point is I was provided with footage by my very own cousin, who is both a police officer and an ex-Marine. And somehow, some way, while Santa Rosa Hospital across the street was being worked on, that night they discovered bones. Or it might have been during the day. So across the street lies Santa Rosa Hospital. The building's intent is good, as we did need a hospital in the first couple of years for San Antonio, and it was built. However, they didn't truly account for the burial ground. So the more and more they expanded their hospital, the more and more they were discovering bodies. And I'm going to show you some footage right now that was presented to me by my cousin, who is both a cop that was patrolling the area, who is also a Marine, or was a Marine. He retired. Our next subject is covering two souls in love, yet forbidden. They always say forbidden fruit always tastes so much more sweet. These were people from two different families with different perceptions, different plans that they set aside for their children. They said it was a man and this woman who was just at least over 7 feet tall, of Chinese descent. And they had this meeting place where they would meet against their family's wishes, against all of the odds. They somehow tried to meet, to spend time with each other. For they were in love. Somehow, some way, tragically, this man died. And the woman was there left only to figure out that her love was gone. And out of anguish, she took her own life. We are talking about a place of sorrow. Loma China Cemetery, aka the Chinese graveyard. I was a young girl. I had never heard of the story. It was actually introduced to me by a neighbor. Well, actually her mother. And what was very interesting was the very fact that we were very fascinated with things like the lechuza and the donkey lady. And the mother of my neighbor, who is my best friend, had told me about it. However, she was a Jehovah's Witness. I'm a Catholic, and me growing up and thinking about it from the big picture, you then begin to question things. And she had told me that this place, that this graveyard wasn't just your average graveyard, that it was notoriously haunted. And I was like, wow, okay. I'm like, it's not a monster, so whatever. She said that it was so haunted that people would challenge each other in high school, that they would challenge each other to get to the other end of the graveyard's fence. And she said no one would make it. That there was just, that it escalated, like there was almost like a depth of paranormal activity, if you will, from the shallow end of the pool to the very depths of whatever it is that you want to call the spirit world. But she said that there was things that it was tugging at you, it was scratching you, there was just, and this is coming from someone who pretty much doesn't support or believe in really the paranormal. It's like not something they ever talk about. So I'm going to talk about my personal occurrences. I'll be honest, I underestimated the power of Loma China Cemetery. I said, this is not a monster. I'm not, you know, every other place except El Camaroncito, I really tried to spiritually make sure that I was on guard. I was, you know, centered. I knew what I was doing. I was being respectful. I was very conscious of what I was doing to be as respectful as I could be. Loma China, I'm not gonna lie, I was busy. I had the book coming out. I had a lot I was just trying to promote, and I wasn't going to cross the ground. I wasn't going to poke at spirits and try to summon them or make them mad or do any of that. I wasn't there for that. I was just going to just say I'm here. I was here, and I wasn't going to cross that line. I was only still literally practically on the sidewalk, and this happened. And the first thing that came to mind, being a Southtown Southsider, was fight. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, it's a ghost, let me prepare for that. No, that was a real voice. It came at me. I thought it was a person. I thought this person was gonna rob me or come at me, maybe try to harm me, ask me for help. I don't know. But when you're so caught off guard, the first thing is, you wanna step back and figure out, do I gotta swing or do I gotta pick up somebody? I don't know, but I'm gonna step back. And that was my reaction. I'll tell you, I was not, I was caught off guard. And if I was gonna fake something, I would look better in camera. Somehow, some way, those angles would be different. This would not be so focused on. And that's all I gotta say. It would be a more flattering camera style, but even my reaction of me not knowing if I recorded it was still like, I still can't even believe it, because I'll tell you right now, just like I'm recording this, I hate editing, so I like a perfect take. Easier edit. I hate playing with retakes and where was I last and all of that. I don't script any of that. I just like to do one good consecutive take, or try to. And that's where I'm at. So hear it for yourself. A lot of people on, a lot of paranormal groups are like, hey, you got an EVP. I was like, well, I wasn't even trying. And, but it leads into the next thing. Hey guys, it's yours truly. 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 Oh shit! Be careful. Reverse and then go out of. Holy shit! Oh my god! Monsters have always fascinated me, but there was always one in particular that just captured my heart. She is a vengeful beast. She is a beast. She's all about revenge and rage. That's all her story echoes. There are different variations. Some say she was an old circus freak that was in a fire that mutilated her body to look like a donkey's in some areas. Others say that she was murdered by the son of a local merchant, both her and her donkey, and she swore her soul to the devil to merge her and her friend into this abomination. This thing so ghastly that it would certainly stop anyone just looking upon her. People call her a monster. I call her a Texan Titan, the Mexican Medusa. One good look after summoning the donkey lady will be your last thing. So I'm sitting there at my very first convention, vending my books, getting my feet wet on the whole like convention scene. And a man comes up to me. He's very nice and polite and kind of, you know, kind of a regular guy in about his 50s. And he's like, you know, she looks just like that. And I said, beg your pardon? And he's like, the donkey lady, she looks just like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, no, seriously, I've seen her. And I was like, you've seen her and you've survived? He's like, I saw her, but I didn't summon her. I didn't ask to see her. She showed up at a place where I could see her. And I was like, the donkey lady roams in places? And he's like, yeah, I saw her. And she looks like that. And I'm like, all right, so how did you see her somehow without, you know, dying? He's like, because she didn't see that we saw her, for one, and we didn't summon her. And I was like, okay, well, hit me with your best shot. And he said that him and his friends were only in high school. They were just there to drink, have a good time, just relax, you know. It was during the summer. And there was their spot. And their spot was by this golf course. And by this golf course, there was like this mill, this granary, like it was a factory that was run down. And it was big. It was a lot of land. And he said that you could kind of oversee, like there was an advantage where you could, like there was like either they were kind of like on a little hill and they could see down there doing, I guess, old school guys kind of sort of hangout stuff. Let's park at the cliff, right? I guess. And so anyways, they hear trolloping and they're like, what the heck is that? They think it's a car that's coming. You know how it goes, pa-tum, pa-tum, pa-tum. He's like, we expect to see a car, but we don't see a car. We see this 7 to 8 foot thing trolloping into the rundown factory, like around the rundown factory, kind of like in front, like if it was its parking lot or something. And he's like, at first we thought it was a horse, but then when we look again, we're not sure. Are we sure that we're looking at what we're looking at? And it's half woman, half. And that, he's like, that's when we snapped. It's a donkey lady. She's hanging out here. She's walking around, kind of looking around, kind of, I don't know if that's where she relaxes or decompresses, if you will. But she was like hanging out there. And they were freaked out. They didn't want to make noise. They were slouching in their car seats and trying to pretend like the car was an abandoned car. And he said that him and his friends were terrified beyond anything they had ever seen, encountered. He said that they were just really scared to drive, for one, of making noise, and for two, she would know that they saw her and they weren't sure if she was going to go after them. But he said that her backside was very much like a centaur with the 4 legs of a donkey, and that her back was beautiful, beautifully shaped like a woman's, with long dark hair. But when you looked at her face, it was that hybrid of part woman from the eyes up, but below that it was a snout. And he said he was really just terrified for his life. And I mean, out of all of the people that have told me their accounts, he's just like, I thought I was gonna die, but then half of me was telling me that I might not, because we didn't ask to see her. We weren't there to patronize her or make fun of her. We were just doing our own thing. We were minding our own business. So they said that they waited They waited until she left, hoping she wasn't going to the top where they were at, but they gave it time until she was gone. Whether it's the donkey lady, the devil, the dancing devils of Million Square, Loma China Cemetery, we have taken you into the true depths of our haunted history. I thank you for watching. Stay tuned for maybe another documentary.